Hello YouTube, today we're going to review a very famous program by Candido. So if you're not aware, Candido is a very famous powerlifter. He has a very big YouTube channel. He's been one of the OG YouTube fitness channels on the platform, and I've been watching him from day one. I think he has a very good understanding of not only powerlifting, but also how to build muscle in general. He has a very large amount and catalog of videos, so if you don't know who he is, go check him out. He has a lot of good videos, especially for strength. That being said, even though he is a very proficient powerlifter, he also has a good body. He has a very muscular body that I think doesn't look half bad. So he also has some ground to stand on when it comes to hypertrophy. Something that's sort of irrelevant is he had a pretty serious injury a few years ago. He came back from it and he documented everything he did on his channel to help people. And I think that that is a good way to know that this guy actually cares about this community. Instead of hiding the mistakes he made and the back injury he suffered from it, he owned it up and he turned that into a positive. He tried to help people. So I respect him a lot. One of the subscribers on this channel, wants to run his novice program for hypertrophy. And therefore, they asked me if I could review it so that I could give them more information to base their choice on, to decide if they're going to jump on it or not. All right, so this one is the linear program for hypertrophy for novices. If you don't know what linear periodization is, you can Google it. I will be making videos about every single type of periodization, but it might not come right now. So if you want to understand the video, it might be better to look it up. If you don't, it's fine. I'm still going to explain the program. So first off, it's a novice program. So keep that in mind. It's very important. Novice programs are strictly different than other types of programs because they're targeted at individuals who have low work capacity in general, if I can maybe add that, and also people who usually have to learn the lifts. They're not proficient in the lifts. So it is something that it needs to be considered, and a lot of novice programs fail to consider it. I think the issue too is a lot of novice programs have very similar flows across the line, which is why I critique novice programs, and I'm going to make videos critiquing novice programs a ton, because the part of the training where the trainee starts training is crucial, because we lose 90% of all people who start training. Eventually they give up. And those are people that could have become very successful powerlifters, bodybuilders, if they stuck and they kept at it, which they don't, because usually they get discouraged by the program. So let's see if that one is one of those. It's a 4-day upper-lower split. And it starts by Monday, that is called heavy lower day. One, giving names to days within a split is a very good thing because it helps, one, categorize the day, and two, it's going to help you follow what you would want the day to look like. So it's like, for example, if you name, let's say before you start a painting, you name the painting a certain thing, the creation you're going to put on the canvas is going to reflect the name. But most artists don't do that, right? They do the painting and then give it the name afterwards. It doesn't work for programming. It's not the same logic. For programming, you want to know what the problem is going to look like. You don't want to do something random and then be like, oh, I just made a full body split. No, it doesn't work like that. So 4 days a week is on the higher end of the frequency for novices, in my opinion. Why? Novices are not comfortable with the gym. You don't want them in the gym every single day. I usually have novices in the gym 3 days a week. But 4 days is not too much of a stretch. So, heavy lower day. He starts you off on squats. 3 sets of 6 reps. Okay, 3 sets of 6 reps. It's a fixated rep range, it doesn't evolve. I'm already not a big fan of that. I understand that most novice programs have that, and that's why I don't like them. Novices are not stupid. You can give them some leeway. They don't have to always do the sets and the reps exactly as written. So that's going to result in decent volume for a beginner. It's not too much, it's not too little, that's okay. After that, deadlift 2 sets of 6 reps. Personally, I like to stay within the 5 rep ranges for the deadlift. I know that some people have the ability to go higher. For me, it's not worth it, but it's still valid, especially for novices. You don't want novices to push their absolute max. So if you have them do deadlifts in the set of 6 reps, especially if you have to do them 2 sets, they're not going to do grinders, or at least they shouldn't. Again, the rep range is not evolving, but 12 reps of heavy deadlift for a novice is good. Now, I do not like squats and deadlift on the same day. I don't care how advanced or not you are. I don't care if you're a novice. It's never good. I've never seen a program where I was like, okay, this is good. Meaning that having heavy squat and heavy deadlift on the same day means you're going to prioritize the squats because you're fresh when you do them, so you're going to be fried on the deadlift. We already have a problem with novices being afraid of the deadlift because they're afraid of snapping something, even though the deadlift is safe. But if you have them deadlift after a squat when they're tired, their form is going to suffer, and therefore it opens up the risk of injury. Squats and deadlift on the same day don't work unless you have an heavy and a less heavy day. And here, with the program I was given, I don't think that's the case. If it is the case and Candido actually wants you to do heavy squats and then light deadlifts and then the other week light squats and heavy deadlifts, it's a different story. But if they're both supposed to be heavy lower days, then I'm not okay with that. Especially also because I feel like most people don't realize that the squat is more taxing than the deadlift. There is more actual loading on the squat. Some people might disagree with that, but in my opinion, this is just not a good combo. You don't want that. You could have high bar squats and then deficit deadlifts or stiff leg deadlifts. You could have pose squats and then conventional deadlift, but you can't have both at maximum intensity. It's not possible. After that, he says optional exercise, which means that you're going to have to pick, I think, in the list of exercises, 3 sets of 8 to 12, so it's the hypertrophy rep range, and then another set of optional exercises, 3 sets of 8 to 12. So I suppose that those exercises are going to be, or at least they should be, lower body lifts, because we're talking about a lower day. So they should be exercises to target the glutes, hamstrings, quads, and hips. I like the rep range. I think that the evolving rep range here is good. It's going to give a taste of freedom to novices. 3 sets is enough. Novices don't need massive amounts of volume, so that's good. Also, it's letting novices pick their lift. I don't know if he does that for the squats and deadlifts. Personally, if I tell someone to squat, what I mean is it's a knee flexion. You need to do a knee flexion. If you don't like squats, you can do front squats. You can do SSB squats. You pick, right? So this is teaching novices that they don't have to abide by orthodox rules. They have to do certain lifts, but they can pick the lift they want. A compound movement is a compound movement. Tuesday is a heavy upper day. And it starts with a bench press, 3 sets of 6 reps. So here, I see that he has the lower body lifts in the same waters as the bench press. It's the same not the same tonnage, because lower body lifts are going to result in more tonnage, but it's the same rep and set scheme. I do think in that case that it is more beneficial, at least the rep ranges he uses, for the upper day. Because as I said, I don't like the combo of squat and deadlift. That being said, the combo of squat and deadlift, because the lower body can take more volume even with novices, makes sense when combined. So I get why he combined them now. I still don't like it. I think that it's a case of reverse engineering of the program here, where he wanted the tonnage to match, and so he decided to go with the squat and the deadlift on the same day and disregarded the potential problems that could create, because it made the bigger picture made sense, but within the session it didn't. So he prioritized the bigger picture. Okay, so you do your bench press with the fixated rep range, and then you do a primary upper back exercise. All right, so it can be like pull-ups or rows or whatever. 3 sets of 6 reps. Again, he's now treating an upper back exercise as strength work. Tell any noob to do 3x6 on the rows, they're going to butcher the rows, because they're either going to do too low of a weight, so their form is going to stay the same, or they're going to shoot for way too high, grind to get 6 reps on the first, barely get 6 reps with good form, and then it just goes downhill from here. I think that any upper back exercise, especially those who involve the lower back and the hamstrings, should be higher rep range, at least 6 to 10, and give the novices some room, so that if they do 6 reps clean, they can stop, they don't have to keep going, and if they can go to 10, they do 10. After that, shoulder exercise, 1 set of 6. All right, so his understanding is, after the bench press, your shoulders are tired, so you're only going to do 1 set of 6 of the shoulder exercise. Depending on the exercise, and even with any exercise, I don't like that. Keep in mind that I am doing this review based on the copy paste of the person who asked. So I do apologize if this is not accurate, because that doesn't look accurate to me. Why would, and I'm not saying the person who copy pasted is a liar, I'm just saying it looks strange. Why would you do only 1 set, especially if it's overhead press? The overhead press, you can do much more volume. The bench press is not going to tire the muscles responsible for the vertical press that much, and it's healthy for the shoulders, so I don't get it. After that, another upper back exercise, which I like. The upper back can take a ton of volume, even for beginners. And here, you do 1 set of 6. So I see his logic. On the number 2 back exercise, because you've already done 3 sets of the number 1, he has you do 1 set. Now this makes more sense for the back, but the issue is that I can see that he had the same logic applied to bench press and shoulder exercise, and to me, it's not the same. You're not fatiguing the same muscles. So, if you want to apply this, I would say do your primary upper back exercise with the 3 sets of 6 with a movement like the pull-ups, and then do your 1 set of 6 with a heavy movement like the rows. That way you can squeeze all your strength for 6 reps and move on. Form breakdown is not going to be as detrimental. Optional exercise, 3 sets of 8 to 12. So a good thing too with these optional exercises that I just realized is you get to pick which muscle you're going to target. Most of these are going to be isolation movements. So on this day, if you realize that your shoulders need more work, you can do lateral raises, etc. Again, it's a case of reverse engineering. Instead of plugging isolation exercises and leaving the novice to decide which muscle group they want to grow, why not just make the novice do more shoulder exercises at the beginning? It would be better. I also think that I take back some of what I just said, or rather I want to develop on it. It's good to leave room for the beginner to decide which muscle group they want to develop. Not only because you're going to know more or less your weak points, but also because you know what muscles you want to grow. It's your body, you decide. So if you want to do, because here he has you do 3 optional exercises, if you want to decide that you want to do 3 for the shoulders, then do it. It's your shoulders, you do what you want. It might be dangerous for novices who are misguided and they're going to overtrain, but you learn through mistakes. I mean, you can pay a coach $1,000 a day and you're still going to make mistakes. They cannot puppeteer you through life. You have to learn by yourself. So, with this day, I sort of have the same issue as with the Monday day. In my opinion, it's a little bit too fatiguing. Because you're going to, if you're smart about your exercise selection, you're going to overhead press, bench, do 2 upper back exercise, and then 3 isolation optional exercise. That's a lot for a beginner. It's a lot. And one of the two is going to give up. Either the volume is going to be too much and you won't be able to go through it, or your mental fortitude is going to break because it's a lot of work. I mean, someone like me could do that easy, but I've been training for years. I have a work capacity already. Most novices have no work capacity. So 2 days in a row that are going to follow each other, that are going to be very taxing, that's already, in my opinion, not a good thing for a novice program. Especially because there are no evolving rep ranges, meaning you need to get to 6 reps. So you're either going to really go low on the weight, on those strength work so that you have some energy in the tank for the rest, or you're going to kill yourself on these and then be completely ineffective for the rest. In my opinion, the intensity and volume control and the variables given to the novice to make sure that the training goes well are not optimal so far. After that, Thursday, so you get the Wednesday to rest, thank God. You have hypertrophy lower. You do back squat or front squat. Yikes. Those are completely different lifts. And the front squat is super technical. I would never tell a novice to do front squats unless they develop a love for it. The issue with the front squat is it's such, at least for me, maybe I'm just an alien, I don't know, it took such a long time to master, especially the front rack position, to do it painless, that I would not tell novices to do that, especially bodybuilders. I mean, I love it, but if I could go back in time and invest all the hours I spent on the front squat on something else, I would. That being said, on the other hand, I love front squats because they deload the lumbar spine, they put the accent on the quads, they help with thoracic extension. I just know that novices give up fast, and if you have them if you have them jump through a technical hoop, then it's going to discourage them. A good example of this is, imagine calisthenics. Calisthenics is super popular with novices. Why? It's accessible and it's fun. Now imagine if instead of having novices start with push-ups, dips, pull-ups, you had them start with these same movements on rings. And you told novices you have to do them on Olympic rings. How popular would calisthenics be? It would go down like 40% because it's too technical. You can't ask someone who's just getting started to be that technical, which is why I don't like the fact that he lets them decide between back squat or front squat, because it's a false equivalence and it's the illusion of choice. What novice is going to pick front squat? Unless you already know you want to transition into Olympic weightlifting, you're going to pick back squat. So just tell them to do back squat. 5 sets of 8 reps. All right, so now we're upping the ante a lot. We went from the heavy day with 3 sets of 6 reps, now it's 5 sets of 8 reps. I was about to critique it by saying that it looked like he was going to assign an hypertrophy rep range to the hypertrophy days, which is a common mistake. There's no such thing as an hypertrophy rep range. What matters is tonnage and your ability to progress. But I think it's not too different from his strength work, so I like it. 5 sets of 8 reps is decent amount of volume, but the issue here is he immediately follows that with deadlift variation, 3 sets of 8 reps. So again, I don't like squats and deadlift on the same day. That being said, I did say that if it's variation, it's good. But the issue I have here is that it's not a heavy squat. If it was a heavy squat followed by a lighter variation of the deadlift, it would make sense. But here it's not. It's more volume on top of that. A novice that does 5 sets of 8 reps on the back squat and then moves on to 3 sets of 8 reps on the deadlift is going to be toast, that's my understanding of what being a novice is. This might be good for a late novice that's going to transition into being an intermediate. But here I do think it's a tiny bit overkill. So I would say instead of 5 sets of back squats, maybe 3 to 4 sets instead. And then 3 sets of 8 reps on the deadlift variation. After that, hamstring curls, 3 sets of 12 reps. Okay, hamstring curls are good for hamstring development. Some people get knee pain from them, so be careful. Calf raises, calf raises. It's a novice program. Uh, I'm the perfect example of someone who waited way too long to work their calves, and now I regret it. But I think that novices don't need to work their calves. Or at least if you put that in the program, superset the hamstring curl with the calf raises. It's not going to take any time. It's a better option, I think. Because by the time you get to those calf raises, if you're a novice, you just want to go home. You're not going to be pumped to do 5 sets of calf raises. Guarantee you that. And then optional exercise, 4 sets of 8 to 12, and then another optional exercise, 4 sets of 8 to 12. So, okay, Candido he knows how to program. I know that this program is old, and it's just like with the Alpha Destiny program, they're old and they didn't really went back and review them, so this is not a correct representation of the programming talents and skills that Candido has. Because I follow him and I know he does better stuff now. That being said, I do believe that the optional exercises in that case can be considered as blank, meaning that you don't have to do that. So it's going to give the option to novices to do them or not. The reason why I still think it's bad is because novices are always going to say no to that. Unless you really pick someone who's highly motivated, if they get the option between staying another 30 minutes in the gym or going home, they'll go home. So this is where I contradict myself, because I said that novices need to have freedom, but not too much freedom. You still need to tell them, hey, this is the program, this is what you have to do if you want to grow. You don't get to skimp on it, so no option. So, okay, and on that day, I mean, after all those back squats, those deadlift variation, the hamstring curls, no one is going to do 8 sets of 8 to 12 reps. Or they're just going to pick very lightweight and just do fluff, which does nothing. Because it's going to be outside of any relevant intensity rep range. And novices are very capable, and they're the massive culprits of that, of picking a weight that is not challenging and repping it, and then they get stopped by cardiovascular fatigue, and they think that they achieved muscular fatigue because they don't know the difference. Last day, Friday hypertrophy upper, chest press, flat or decline, 4 sets of 8. I like it. I do think that the frequency on the bench is a good thing here, as long as the shoulders don't hurt. After that, incline chest press, 4 sets of 8. I personally don't do any incline or decline stuff, but I do know that people like it, so it's still good. Upper back exercise 1, 4 sets of 8. Upper back exercise 2, 4 sets of 8. So a lot of focus, and I'm going to get back to that afterwards because it's glaring, but a ton of focus on the chest and the upper back. It's a very nice combo, it goes well together. It is true that too many people do too many presses and not enough pull, and they have an imbalance, and also because your upper back has such a tremendous potential for size. Like a guy like me who's been training 10 years, I've been putting more volume on my upper back and it's been growing like weeds. So the earlier you start, the more freaky of a result you're gonna get. So I like that. I like that he's trying to get that volume in for the upper back. Horizontal presses need work to get a big chest, so that's good. After that, he has you do a shoulder exercise, 3 sets of 10 reps. I like it. It's good. After all those presses, 3 sets is going to be a nice complement. And then, as is tradition, bicep exercise, 3 sets of 10. Now, I am just offended because that's not enough volume for the biceps. You can't have a guy do 3 sets of 10 on the bicep and call it a day. It doesn't work like that. This is followed by more optional exercises. But my overall issue with what I see is that this is clear as day, a program that was written, an hypertrophy program, mind you, this is not for strength, that was written by a powerlifter. Because there is such a blatant disrespect for certain muscle groups. Like, you're going to get a ton of work for your quads, your hammies, your glutes, your chest, your upper back, your lateral and middle head of the tricep. What about the long head of the tricep? I don't see any exercise for that. What about your biceps? 3 meager sets at the end of the week. What about the forearms? What about all the small muscles of the back, like the real delts? What about the traps? All of these get no love. And I know that a lot of people think that the forearms and traps, everything will grow with pulls. And I agree to an extent because it's for novices. But at least put some isolation for them. At least one. And for biceps and long head of the triceps, at least 2. And this is where the program exists in a state of limbo. Because at the end of the day, if you as a novice are smart enough to plug in the right exercises where he writes optional exercise, then the program is actually fairly good. Besides the critiques I have with the lifting combos and the rep ranges, the exercise selection would be good, but you would need to have the knowledge to do that. And this is where advanced lifters step in and guide novices. You cannot let novices decide of their lifting rotations, of what lift they're gonna do. You have to give them a choice between several lifts or a pattern of movement like an elbow flexion, but after that they have to do it. So replace the optional exercise by forearm isolation, long head isolation, bicep movements, and the program makes a lot more sense. Overall, I think it's too much volume for a novice program. I don't think it's sustainable. I do think that certain rep ranges should be rethinked, as I said. I think certain combos should be rethinked. I think that there are certain sets that could be cut in half and supersetted. For example, for the heavy upper day and the hypertrophy upper Friday, you can superset chest and upper back. You don't need to separate them. And also, there is no ab isolation. But they could, again, be optional exercises, so do more ab isolation. So that's pretty much that for the Candido program. Again, I love Candido. He's a funny and talented guy. I do think this program is not up to par though. And for hypertrophy, you will need to make some changes to run it appropriately for novices. As far as the progression goes, it's a linear program, so you put weight on the bar as you go. That's fine for novices. It's also fine for non-novices. It's not a bad thing. Linear periodization doesn't mean beginner. You can be applied even by advanced lifters. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.